All right. All right. All right. This is confusing. Yes. Looks like we have a connection back. So. Is this annoying? Hey, all right. We got it worked out. All right. Sweet. All right. That was weird. Okay. That was interesting. Yeah, the internet was being weird, and so I tried switching over to my phone, but then that was having issues with like putting itself out there just anyway. So we're back, so whatever. All right. Did I get the email? Yes, I got the email. I'll have to, or I skimmed over it a little bit, so I'll have to go back and read it a little more closely. So, yeah, it would be fun to do a collaboration sometime. Right. I don't think I even know how to do that. I think there's a add collaborator button. But just kind of figure it out as we go along, I guess. Right. So I forget what day it was, but I started watching the GoBots cartoon. It's interesting. It is really interesting, to be sure. Yeah, the pilot episodes were pretty good. The animation on those were really great, and the story actually seemed like it was going somewhere. Once again, your comment just popped up, so I'm gonna read that real quick. Yeah, it gives you the option to invite other people before you start, and if they accept the link, they instantly join your stream as a guest. Did that with my friends a week or two. Okay, sweet. Okay, so that would be you joining my stream or me joining your stream, because you know how to do that. Transformers collabs. I made shorts for this week. Hope you like them. In Jurassic Park. I want for you to see them as well. Cool. I'll have to check those out. Actually, I think I'll just quick. I will just. Yeah, I'll just quick subscribe and turn on the notifications so I can check that out. All right. Right. So I was watching the GoBots cartoon, and pilot episodes really weren't bad. The animation was good. The story seemed like it was going somewhere. But then the episodes after that were just weird. Like the story didn't make a whole lot of sense, and the animation wasn't quite as good. The characters just felt kind of dry. So I do see how it did well initially, and then I also see how Transformers just crushed it. Because Transformers, as I'm gonna be brutally honest, as bad as the animation was, everything else about it was a lot better than the GoBots. Plus, the GoBots never gave us in the 90s. They never gave us these wonderful Transmetal Beast Wars characters. Just the glorious chrome. Although the chrome on these Transmetals isn't quite as impressive as the chrome on the Silverhawks characters. Yeah, chrome. Back on the chrome. Well, then there's the Generation 2 guys. Some of those, anyway. Do I have any GoBots in my collection? I don't. I've thought about it a little bit, but there aren't really any GoBots characters that are like interesting enough to me. They're not quite as engaging enough that I would want to get any. Although the only ones I might get would be like Leader 1, just because he's the leader, and then also an F-15 Eagle. Maybe Torque. He was a pickup truck. Kind of an interesting character. Yeah. But overall, I do think the Transformers is better than the GoBots. Though I do respect the GoBots because they were kind of pioneering in the transforming robot cartoon industry. And they were another one of those 80s toy lines that did pretty well. Unfortunately, they didn't do quite well enough, because Transformers just kind of showed up and took over. Another 80s show that I think could have done really, really well and was really cool, but ultimately didn't pay off well, was the Silverhawks. That was a 1986 cartoon. It was by the same group that did Thundercats, and so they reused their it was Rankin Bass, that's right. They did Thundercats, and they basically just reused their animation studio, their music studio, their voicing, and it was really cool. The cartoon was really cool. Unfortunately, the thing that really killed them was that the toy company that they wanted to make the toys backed out kind of at the last second, and the Rankin Bass basically just scrambled around trying to find someone who can make toys for them now, because they were making this show very ambitious, and they were doing it very quickly and getting things out as soon as possible. And then they didn't have the toys for it until almost a year later, after the show ended, and they just kind of flopped. I mean, the figures sold really well, but they were just too late. The figures themselves, so the characters were basically cyborg space police. So the main characters were almost entirely chrome, with the exception of their faces and then the lower part of one of their arms. And there were a couple different characters, and they each had like a spring gimmick in them. So for most of the Silverhawk characters, they just had where you squeeze the legs together and then the arms would pop up, and they'd have cloth wings in them, because that's one of the things they did in the show. But the pilot of their spaceship, he was essentially like a space cowboy who played a guitar. Super awesome character, by the way. He didn't have any wings because he was the pilot of the spaceship. But what you could do with him was you could stick his guitar on his back, and when you squeezed his legs together, the guitar launched off his back. Man, 80s toys were something else. Yeah, that was one that I hadn't really heard of until just about last week. Me and my dad were driving back from somewhere in his big old aircraft carrier of a pickup truck, and I was talking about how earlier that day I had tried to watch an episode of Masters of the Universe. I told him I got about 2 minutes in before I was like, this is weird. I can't. This is too weird. And then we were talking about different 80s franchises like G.I. Joe and Transformers. And when we got home, I remembered he had told me about this Silverhawks thing a couple years ago. And so I just looked up the intro on YouTube. And so I started playing it. And then he goes, Silverhawks? And he proceeded to tell me about how, as a kid, he thought Silverhawks was just the coolest thing ever. And he would always pretend to be the spaceship cowboy at the playground and whatnot. That was really cool, and got to watch a couple episodes of that with him. It's a lot of fun. How big is my Transformers collection? Let's see. I'm not sure how big it is. I guess I don't have an exact number. Let's see. It's pretty small as far as a collection goes. It's just kind of stuff I've gotten and stuff I haven't gotten rid of. The stuff I've gotten rid of has mostly just been like cheap dollar store stuff or McDonald's Happy Meal stuff. So it's not terribly big. I suppose I could probably do a video about my Transformers collection and just go through everything I have. I could probably get that out sometime in the next 2 weeks, maybe. I already have a video lined up for tomorrow. That'll be a review on the Age of the Prime's Quintus Prime figure. So, yeah. And I think after that is Amalgamus Prime. I just need to get that edited and uploaded. Although my usual day for doing that, this schedule of stuff has changed, so I'm gonna have to find some way to get around that, I suppose. So we'll see. I suppose I could probably just do that on like a Saturday afternoon, whenever I'm that busy. I don't know. We'll see. Although that is also the day I do filming for videos. So we'll see. I do have a short lined up for Saturday. It's kind of like a Valentine's Day skit short thing. So yeah, that'll. I kind of don't want to say too much to spoil it or whatever, but it has Solus Prime and Ironhide in it. So, and unfortunately, the Solus voice is being weird again. I might have to re-record the lines for that again sometime before Saturday. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Because it just depends on getting it to the point where I don't cringe listening to it. Oh well. Let's see. I did bring them out for kind of I wanted to ask if you would do like maybe one of the animation tests from from Transformers the Animated Series or Prime. Do I do the art myself? Yes, I do the art myself, and those are characters that I have I came up with a couple years ago. So those are original characters, and they're actually based off of a Lego model I made. So I can also do a video about that or those guys at some point. The tests for those, I kind of wanted to keep it a surprise, but no one else is gonna watch this, so I was planning on doing an animated series of videos featuring those characters. And that's kind of what the transformation tests are for, is kind of see how well, the animation side of things is received, and then also keep those clips around for when the characters transform in the series itself. I'm not thinking it'll be a super intricate animation style. I wasn't planning on doing super intricate animation or designs and whatnot. Just because I'm not very good at animating, and then just kind of starting small, like the animators say, and then just kind of working into it and all that. So, do you have your own story for that? Not yet. I want to do it, but I don't have a story for it. That's something I'm gonna have to work on first before I start any animation for it. um, yeah, I would need to figure out where that's all going. So, but yeah, I I do think that would be pretty cool. Kind of get something going. Have I always wanted to do animation? Not always. I haven't always wanted to do animation, but I have for a long time, and I've been really inspired by the the channel Blunt Brothers Productions. I'll go and I have a video of a compilation of some of my favorite scenes from a couple of his videos on my channel with a link to his channel there. Um, but yeah, so his thing is that he does animations, and he's been doing animations for a couple of years now, and he has a series called Triangle versus Monkey, which started off as a parody of King Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Kong. Sorry, the 2021 movie, and that blew up his channel, and it did super well. So we made a series for it, and so that is really, or that channel has been a really big inspiration for me. Um, and then yeah, I've always wanted to do my own stories for things, either drawing comics or writing books or making videos, whatever. And this is kind of the first time I've ever tried to really do anything about that for kind of other people. So I've made a bunch of comics for myself, and then also like for um, you know friends or my brother or whatever. Um, but yeah, I would definitely like to do stuff like this on YouTube. That would be a lot of fun to do. Another thing that could be kind of neat is comic dubs. So like do some of the stories I've done in other comics and just tweak them slightly, make them flow a little bit better, and then um, dub them and make them videos. That could also be kind of cool. Because I don't know if I could do multiple animated series. How long are you looking at making the animations? Like full length episodes or like little skits? Um, I suppose that would kind of depend on how much effort I'm willing to put into the videos and how much story there is to an episode. Um, I would like the series to be a progressive story, not necessarily like an episodic series where there's just a story in that episode, a story in that episode, a story in that episode, but just kind of carries on through the whole season or a couple seasons up to a certain point. I know I want to do them long form style, not necessarily shorts, but I really have no idea how long they'd be. I don't really want to make them too long, just because I don't really want them to get long-winded, and then I also want there to be as many episodes as I can make. So making them shorter means that I can make more episodes to fill the story without having to slow it down and drag it along and whatnot, So, yeah. It's really dry out here. Do I collect any other toys or collectibles? Not really. I mostly just collect Transformers because that's kind of my big interest. For a little while, though, I did sort of casually collect like G.I. Joe, the 80s figures, and ended up with a couple, not a ton. It would be kind of neat to get some more G.I. Joes. I've considered about collecting some Kenner Star Wars figures. And then I don't know. I mean, there are definitely some G.I. Joes I'd like to get. There are definitely some Kenner Star Wars I'd like to get. There's some Silverhawks I'd like to get. But not really as like a collection as like with the Transformers. And even at that, I'm not trying to collect every single thing. It's just kind of, what's cool to me and whatnot. Although the one thing that I am trying to collect is the primes, the 13 primes. So it doesn't matter how good or bad they are, I'm still going to get them. Who is better, Snake Eyes or Duke? That's a hard one. That's a really hard one because they're both super neat characters. Let's see. I really like both for different reasons. I like Duke because he's kind of the main Joe leader guy, aside from General Hawk, who's also a really neat character. And he just has a really, really great characterization, and he's a really neat character. And then I also like Snake Eyes because he's kind of that sort of mysterious ninja type character, and like he's just cool. So I don't know if I really prefer one over the other. I think they're both really neat characters. Is that a satisfactory answer? Or did you want me to say one or the other? Which would be kind of difficult, because they're both pretty cool. Oh. Who do you think is a better leader, Megatron or Cobra Commander? Megatron. Megatron is a better leader. Cobra Commander is a whiny coward. He's essentially Starscream, which is really funny because it's the same voice. Go figure. And Cobra Commander never seems to win. I mean, he did have the upper hand in a couple episodes or a couple multi-part episodes. But, you know, he was never stronger than the hero characters. Megatron, he always seemed to get things done. You know, he was immensely powerful and like impossible to defeat. And he's one of those rare cases in 80s cartoons where the villain was more powerful than the hero. You know, Megatron could routinely beat Optimus Prime, but Optimus Prime would keep coming back and beat Megatron anyway through his sheer determination and heroic Optimus Prime-ness. I think as far as leader goes, I think Megatron is better. Although Cobra Commander doesn't have as many people trying to take leadership from him. As Megatron, he has, you know, Starscream. In some series, he has like Shockwave trying to take the throne of Decepticon leadership from him. And just like every Decepticon is always just at each other's throats. So I don't know. Also, Megatron doesn't throw temper tantrums when things don't go right. Cobra Commander does. In his screechy hiss cobra snake way. So okay, now the real question. Who would you work under, Optimus or Megatron, and why? Well, I would want to work under Optimus Prime because he's not an evil, sadistic maniac who has no regard for the safety of his troops. And Optimus Prime is always... No, let's see. Optimus Prime cares about those he leads. And he never puts himself above them. And he's just all around a very noble and heroic leader, and very inspiring and charismatic, and Also, he's a big red truck. You know, that's a little bit more of a ridiculous reason, but yeah, Optimus Prime is just he's a much more inspiring guy to work for. Um, although that is in some versions, like G1 or Unicron Trilogy or Animated or Prime. Not necessarily like the Bay movies, because Optimus is like he's just kind of crabby. He's just kind of to put it in Larry Cullen terms, he's a Hollywood hero. Runs around yelling and screaming and blowing things up. Not necessarily the be strong to be gentle hero that he gave the advice to Peter Cullen for. So, yep. I think G1 and Prime definitely nailed that. Definitely nailed that personality. Yep. Yep. Transformers Prime was such a good series. Like the animation for it was really good. The music was amazing. The voice work was phenomenal. The stories were top notch. Um, it's just kind of too bad that it was canceled when it was, and season 3 went the way it did. Um, excuse me. Season 3, while it was cool, it could have been a little bit better, I suppose. Um, there were some story choices I think they could have gone, like instead of Smokescreen, they have Hot Rod, and then him becoming Rodimus Prime, and all that. But there's a whole issue with the trademark on his name, and then they didn't want to do all that. Have I met Peter Cullen? No, unfortunately, I've not met Peter Cullen. I haven't been to any conventions like Comic Cons or Transformers conventions or what's nots. Is I haven't met him. I have seen plenty of Q&A videos and stuff on YouTube. So, I mean, close, but not really. Have you met Peter Cullen? So that sounds like it would be really cool. Another voice actor I think would be pretty neat to meet would be Frank Welker. He looks like he seems to be a pretty nice guy. And also maybe like David Kay or Gary Chalk. I mean, it would be fun to go to conventions and stuff, but those are pretty expensive and big crowds and long lines and that sort of thing. I'm not a crowd person. But yeah, it would definitely be a lot of fun to go to Transformers convention. It'd be a lot of fun. Whenever I watch Q&A videos with Gary Chalk, the voice of Optimus Primal, and then Optimus Prime in the Unicron trilogy, I always think to myself, he looks like he'd make a great grandpa. Like he looks like he's a really fun grandpa. Like he just always seems to have stories about everything, and he just looks like a really nice guy. But I know he's not perfect because actors are people too. But still seems like a pretty decent guy. All right, being right back. I will wait. See. This says that there are 2 people on here. Is there someone else watching? I don't buy it over the camera. Anyway, over the stream, I don't buy it much. Cheetor bites though. Yeah. No, not yet. I am back too. I went off to find Bruticus. Just because it gives me something to do. I can tilt this down a little bit so you can see the brute. So I actually got all 5 of these guys together on eBay, the same listing. It's kind of neat. Yeah, he is pretty big. Not the biggest G1 Transformer. Fortress Maximus. I don't have Fortress Maximus, unfortunately, so he's not quite that much smaller than the biggest G1 Transformer I have, which would be Metroplex. Which I really gotta get the rest of the accessories for him. Anyway. But yeah. Brawl. Tank. See, there's a Age of the Primes Bruticus coming up, isn't there? And they all look pretty good, especially Onslaught. He's got to be the best combiner torso so far since, or of this newer style from Motormaster. So, favorite accessories for a Transformer. Favorite accessory? That's an interesting one. I don't think I've ever been asked that question. That's an interesting one. I'll have to think about that for a second. Favorite accessory. There's so many accessories. Let's see. That is a tough one. Optimus Prime's laser rifles are pretty cool. It's always neat to see the axe. That's pretty cool as well. There's favorite accessories. Let's see. Worst Transformer transformation. Literally anyone where you just stand them up. You know, you don't move anything around or whatever, you just stand them up. Those are really lame. But different from the one-step changers, because those can have pretty neat conversions too. But yeah, just like some of the stupid stuff out there where you just like, you know. I don't actually know if those exist, but they might. I don't know. I suppose back to the accessories thing. I do like Vortex's cannons. These guns. I think these are pretty cool. Just kind of triple barrel guns that just peg right onto the side of this helicopter. Those are pretty cool. And then also, I suppose for worst transformations would be stuff that's super finicky or fragile, and you're just kind of scared to look at it sideways without it breaking. Those are worse in just, they're just scary, you know? Anyway. But, yeah. I'm sure about, worst. I can't think of any specific examples for worst transformation. So I don't know. And I do though really like this blast off. Is a really cool space shuttle mode, and it's just super slick. And it just comes through really nicely. A lot of the G1 Transformers had really pretty good alternate modes for the most part. Looking at you, Swindle. Whoops. Good thing that's removable. So otherwise I'd be freaking out. Onslaught is long. Like he's long. It's huge. He's huge. But the nice thing about it is that you can just fit a little dude on there. Or, no, I guess maybe not two. But you just pop that off. I suppose you could fit a couple little dudes on here. And then he could just transport around the driving guys or the flying bozos. Except Vortex is kind of long. Holy cow! Power cord saved him. Caught on his rotor, like his rotor just kind of caught on it. And that saved him. It was just kind of like that. So that was scary. I'm not doing that again. But blast off is all right. He just fell on the table. I suppose we can just get Onslaught into this robot mode here. I do really like the slotting out of the fists. That's a lot of fun for me. It's just, come on, you, slotting him out like that. Where did his chest plate go? Here it is. Slot that on. And this one, slide that back. Stick that on. And then there's Onslaught. Well, we could just give him some guns too if we want. Oh. Okay. Hello, lads. How you doing tonight? Don't talk to them. You might convince them to become Decepticons. Turd. Oh, just trying to be friendly. Right. I don't believe you. You are a Decepticon after all. Guilty as charged. Decepticons, I tell you. Oh, man. Man, these guys are little. Like, individually. Like, aside from Onslaught, these guys are pretty little. Where did Swindle go? Oh, there he is. He's tiny. He's tiny. We'll get him back here so you can see. Hopefully he doesn't take up too much room. He's big and he's a screen hog. Bob Budiansky should have just called him Screen Hog. Thoughts on the combinables? I'm not sure what those are. You talking about the those little guys that you smash together, or not smash together? They form front and back halves of the alternate modes. Those little weirdos, or like just the combiner characters, like the Combaticons in general. Combiner characters. I think combiners are really cool. You know, they like such a neat concept. And unfortunately there's not a lot of good combiner figures. I mean, the G1 combiner characters were really great, and for the most part Combiner Wars was just kind of after a while of the same molds over and over again, it did get kind of stale. And then with the newer combiners with the frame setup, I don't know. Bruticus definitely looks the best of the three so far. I prefer the Scramble City of like G1 or Combiner Wars personally. And so it's a little bit disappointing that characters can only be or certain characters can only be arms or only be legs. It's kind of like Predaking, but for everybody. I mean, with Predaking, it was fine because there was no other version. But thoughts on Decepticons being right and Autobots being misled? That was a crazy rabbit trail. I'm gonna try to answer that as best I can with some genuine thoughts here instead of you're wrong. I'm not gonna do that. That is a really interesting thought. Let's see. Now, if we look at it this way, of the Decepticons, they do bad things. right? They attack other people. They kill other bots just kind of for fun. They instigate the war and whatnot, and are just kind of bent on destruction. I don't see how that is right by any decent moral standards. And I mean, it's like there's the reason for it's like the same reason that like every good guy character gives for when the Decepticons pretend to be good guys is they're literally called Decepticons. Their whole thing is deception. So I mainly ask just because my favorite Transformers media is from Shattered Glass. Now, there is an exception for Shattered Glass because that is an alternate reality where the Decepticons do good things and the Autobots do bad things or evil things. That is an entirely different case in of itself and does pose a really intriguing story concept. Just kind of in the general canon, I don't think the Decepticons are right in what they do. Now in Shattered Glass, they are, because they're the good guys this time. They're the ones that do the good things, right? So, yeah, I'm not against stuff like Shattered Glass because it provides a new story. It provides an interesting story, and it's kind of interesting to see, what these guys would be like if they were good guys, or what these guys are like if they're bad guys. So, I mean, I personally don't care for Shattered Glass because I don't like seeing Optimus Prime as a bad guy. Just because of how much I admire and look up to Optimus Prime as a hero, right? It's a little weird to see him as a bad guy. I'm not against it, though. Just as long as him being evil stays in Shattered Glass, right? And all these other things where he's a good guy stays there and doesn't come over there and start making him a bad guy. So, now for things like the Bay movies, I'm not sure what to think about the morality of the Autobots and the Decepticons. Because, the Autobots sometimes seem like they're good guys, and sometimes they're just kind of there, and they don't really care about what happens to the humans as long as they get to rip faces off and kill Decepticons and that sort of thing. But I just don't like the Bay movies in general, so it's nothing against anyone who does. So I don't want any diehard Bay fans thinking I'm, some freak outing G1er, hating on their media, which I don't do that. I don't do hating on other people because that's wrong to just hate belligerently. I saw a post earlier today that just said the word hate. So I commented there and I said, it's something we are allowed to feel, but it's something we need to be incredibly careful with. Like, there are things we are allowed to hate. Like, evil, right? We're allowed to hate evil, but we have to be super careful with how we use that and what we do. That rabbit trailed quickly.
What?
Sorry about that. Exactly. Well said. Well said. No, he goes like this. There we go. Curious. Should Transformers 1 have a sequel? I think it should. Just as long as it's done right. Just as long as it's, done well and is actually interesting. Okay. Could you explain why not? So I'd be curious to see your reasons for that. I think it would be perfect the way it is. Ends on a great note. To what we know from the media with Transformers in general. Oh, yeah, that is a very good reason. I suppose, yeah, thinking about it, that is a really great ending for it. And it would be fine if there wasn't a sequel to it. It's just that there's some cool stuff that they could do with that universe. There's a lot of neat characters they could do. Like, it would be super neat to see like Ultra Magnus in that style. I suppose it's kind of the main thing, I want to see. Love the idea of another movie in that universe. Maybe like a spin-off would be cool. Kind of like maybe a side character we don't really get to see much. I would have loved to see Starscream's side of his story and then how he grouped up with the other Decepticons. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. Like if they did a series. Like a Transformers 1 series. Although I get the feeling we'd probably be disappointed with it because it definitely won't have the same look to it that the movie does, just because of budgeting and what's nuts. And then they probably wouldn't be able to get Chris Hemsworth. Well, then just go for Peter Cullen. Solve that problem. Yeah, it's one of those strange things, like Pacific Rim. When the movie's over, you want more. You want more of it, and then if you do eventually get a sequel, like Uprising, which doesn't exist. That's the Pacific Rim fandom for you. They just agree Uprising doesn't exist. That you're just disappointed with it. So I I guess I'd be fine if they don't make another Transformers 1 movie or Transformers 2 or whatever, just because I don't want to be disappointed. No, he was high guard, but what did he go through to become kind of the way he is? Then at the very end is when they capture Rhinepax. I really want to be. Yeah. Ultra Magnus would be amazing in that style for sure. Maybe he was like part of the council, not fully killed, and he becomes a leader Optimus looks up to. Something different. Yeah, that would be interesting. Kind of a mentor to him, kind of like how he was to Rodimus in the G1. That would certainly be interesting. It'd be cool to see what they could do. And it would be great to have a sequel as long as it's good. But I'm not holding my breath for it, not crossing my fingers for it. So I'm fine with not, Good grief. It's almost 9:45. Like another 10 minutes or something. Let's see. I think I could probably shut this off for tonight. Hold on. I just saw this chat here. Do you think Soundwave, Shockwave, or Starscream would be better in second command if I had to choose, and why? I would choose Soundwave to be second in command just because of how loyal he is across the board. Shockwave, you can never be too sure about whether he's actually loyal to you or just waiting to take command because he knows he's the logical, better leader, that sort of thing. And Starscream is just a backstabbing traitor. I would get rid of Starscream and have Soundwave be second in command. That's what I would do if I were Megatron. Oh man, it's kind of crazy that Megatron is like consistently keeping Starscream. Could I do the Soundwave voice, please? Let's give it a go here. As your command, Megatron. Is that good? I'm no Frank Welker, so it's not as good as what he can do, but thanks. Right. I think probably gonna shut this off and go to bed here. I'm really tired, and as much fun as this is, can't keep doing this all night. Have to have some semblance of responsibility. But hey, it was fun streaming. It was fun chatting with you. So see you next time.